once in hello, welcome each and every one of you. With you today is me, Daiga, multilinguistic international coach therapist from DCTcentre, and joining me again is Morganne Rayne, Adept visionary spiritual guide, ceremonialist and artist. Good morning, Morganne.
Good morning from the beautiful Pacific Northwest.
And we started exactly half minute early, which is absolutely something impossible for us. Usually we start about 5-10 minutes late, but today we started half minute early. Yay! So, how you been?
I'm really good. As we were chatting before, a lot of the work that I do has to, is the work with working with the ego and doing forgiveness and all of that. And I chose to take a class on the death of the ego, which is really interesting because, I know so much. I'm probably the person I know with the most authority on that since I teach it and study it. But I decided to just immerse myself into someone else's teachings around that and just sit back in the student mode, which is so powerful to sit into the student mode rather than the teaching mode. And I recommend it for anyone who, especially who are teachers, that you sit back into the receiving mode. And I call that student mode the receiving mode, where you're open and you're receptive to new information, new way of being, honing your skills. Otherwise, I know for myself, I can kind of get into that. Oh, well, I already know that. I already, it's kind of arrogant in a way, right? And so I don't want to be in that position. I always want to be in the position of learning and growing and developing my skills because I know that I'm here to assist others. And so when I do this for myself, and we talked about this on Tuesday, that service to self with Alishan, right? When we fill up our own emotional, spiritual cup, then we have more to give from. And then, of course, we know the highest form of service is service to others. But it's truly difficult to give of self when you're depleted and you haven't filled yourself up. So, I would tell the listeners today that work towards finding ways to fill yourself up, to nurture yourself, not just your physical self, which is beautiful, but to practice true acts of self-love with yourself. So, and we can chat about self-care versus self-love, which is it's interesting. We've talked about this before, but that was kind of our lesson yesterday about practicing self-love and what are ways we can do that. Self-care is different from self-love, which we've talked about before. Self-care is like, taking a shower, brushing your teeth, that kind of stuff. And for some people, that might be acts of love, but really that's just self-care. And having self-care is so important because it tells yourself that you do love yourself enough to care for yourself. But acts of love towards self would be doing things that maybe you normally wouldn't do, that would be spiritually growing for you, like doing cleanses. And not just self-care, but really purifying the body temple. Talk about an act of self-love to cleanse your temple so that your soul and spirit are residing in a beautiful vessel of receptivity and love. So those are things that I've been working on, and immersing myself with is is self-love. Now, how I got there was because there was some issues that came up where I wasn't in self-love or self-care. I was in grief, and we I've shared with everyone, I lost a very dear friend of mine, and I cared for her during her illness and during her hospice. And then I took over helping work with letting go of her things and settling her state. Lots of emotions and lots of feelings came up around that, where I needed to step way back and allow what was coming forward to come forward without pushing it away and embracing it. So one of those emotions that came forward was grief, deep, deep, deep grief. And it spiraled into grief that I had not, that had grief that had been prematurely halted other times. Those things are still latent within you. And so, this time in this period of grief, I gave myself the opportunity to allow all the other grief that had been residing inside of me to come forward so that I could love and honor that part of me that experienced that grief and that um, mm, that grief like puts you in the spiritual jarring place, um, where you begin to have you disconnect from hope, you disconnect from the higher frequencies. Grief, if it's not handled, can spiral you down into those lower densities that we've talked about before, where there's hopelessness and all that stuff. So my commitment is to maintain a higher frequency, but not at the expense of not feeling what I'm feeling in the moment. So this grief aspect that visited me for a chunk of time, it's so valuable to go through it because I had so much unresolved grief underneath all of that. And it's lovely because now it's like I feel light as a feather. They say in some of the indigenous cultures that at death your heart is weighed, and if your heart is heavier than a feather, then you're still back into the karmic cycle. So it's to experience what it is that's coming forward. Love yourself in the presence of those experiences. Forgive whatever you need to forgive. Do ceremony wherever you need to do ceremony, but not to bypass at all the triggers, the feelings that come forward. So there you go. That's what I'm up to these days.
Yeah, quite deep, because we try to just let's forget it, move on. Yeah, instead of stay with it and actually feel it and
Mm-hmm.
go through this.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I had a major trauma event that happened when I was 17. It's probably the most poignant trauma event I've had. I mean, I had all the family of origin trauma stuff that I can work with. But I had a trauma event when I was 17 where I had fallen in love, deeply, passionately in love with someone. And that relationship lasted, I don't know, for several months. But how it came to an end is that he was murdered. And so there was this massive trauma wound within me with this loss of my first love, my first, where you just open your heart, your whole being, where you feel the ultimate safety, where you feel like now my life can make sense. And then it's just like totally ripped away from you. So I had gone through um, a lot of anger, a lot of anger towards God for taking that away from me, right? But what happened was I still, so I had the trauma, I had the anger, but in the midst of it, what happened was people were trying to pull me out of that state. Friends were trying to like, don't go there, don't feel this, right? Trying to get me back out in the world. And I, unfortunately, listen, or fortunately, there's no mistakes, listened to some of that and decided, well, maybe I do need to just get out there and get moving again or whatever. But what happened was I got directed into something that put me into not a good state, because what it did, what happened then, which was another trauma event stacked on top of that trauma event, and that never got resolved, that original trauma event. So all those, another trauma, and then another trauma on top of that, and another trauma on top of that. So I was being squished down, and I was not recognizing those. Well, I was recognizing them. I was just can't deal with that. Just like you said, can't deal with that right now too much. But you must deal with it. And it will continue to come forward until we do deal with it. A lot of times when I'm working with people, they're just like, they just can't go there, right? They just can't, they just like, you can see they want to go there, but they just stop themselves from going there. But those who have the courage, and that's like a higher frequency, is that courage to face it and to experience it and to do the practices of love and forgiveness, is so powerful. That courage, and that's up in the heart, and of course that's a higher frequency. We're moving more up into the higher vibrational frequencies that are more in alignment with what we call the ascension, or moving into a higher state. We're moving out of grief, apathy, fear, shame, blame, and we're moving into courage, which is of the heart. Is I love myself enough to look at this and be with this and experience these feelings. So in the work that I've been doing this week, I've been doing a lot of in-depth work. I gave myself this time this week to do deep spiritual practices, to immerse myself into this ego death boot camp I enrolled myself into, which is really all the work that I do. But it's just, again, so beautiful to sit back into the student mode and not be the teacher, not be the know-it-all, not be that, but be in the place of receptivity and learning, so that when I come back into teacher mode, when I get back online with that I'm coming from a true place of strength and courage, and that allows me to uplift others to where I am and higher, right? So, looking at your traumas, being present with your traumas, forgiving all those who were involved in the traumas, including yourself, because you were there. You were there present in the traumas, and to forgive yourself. And, when I was, and I've done this work, it's, doing this work is like a spiral. You come back and visit it. Sometimes it's like, sometimes people say, I thought I did that one already. But the truth is, what you did was an aspect of it where you were at. Now you're at this place. And now if it's still there, you're going to address it from this place. So with that trauma of losing my first love, I realized all the decisions I had made from that. So I got traumatized. I made decisions and I got angry, right? So that's where that trauma froze, was in that anger at God for taking away. So all my other relationships were influenced by that trauma, influenced by that anger, influenced by that incompleteness. So when we have those traumas, we must look at it, or they will come back. And and I may have to visit again, but I tell you, this time when I visited it, I felt total gratitude for what happened. Total gratitude. And I've never, ever experienced gratitude for what happened, because I know I am who I am today because of that event.
Yeah, it's quite difficult for me. It's difficult to actually grasp that you can feel gratitude that he died and your first love died, and everything followed. Yeah, but then again, I'm looking at my life and I can see how all dominoes is falling in right places to get me where I am at the moment. Yeah, and I absolutely sure that meeting you, it wasn't accident on any way. Yeah,
I call it a
why?
divine appointment.
Yeah, we make appointment and we met. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
it was a divine appointment. We were meant to meet one another.
yeah, and so much how I'm learning with you, with these sessions with us, yeah, when we manage to teach others something, but same time, I'm learning as well enormously and growing at the same time, yeah. So it's I can't tell you how grateful I am that you are actually doing what you're doing and that you are in my life.
Thank
It's
you.
like touched by angel. Yeah, I have some beautiful angel by my side, and it's a very nice and calming feeling, to be honest.
Mm.
I'm not going to fall because Morganne not going to let me.
Well, you have your other angels too, right? I'm your earth angel, because I chose embodiment. But you have other angels that are waiting right there for you, waiting to be asked, waiting to help, waiting. We don't ask them, right? We don't. Many years ago, I took this class from a woman named Jean Slater, so that I could have a certification in. Let me think about what the certification was in. Something about higher guidance or whatever. It was just, it was like a 12-week course that I took, that spiritual intuitive, I think. I don't know. I don't remember. I've taken so many classes. But she wrote this book called Hiring Heaven. And what a wonderful book it is. And I had read that book several years before I had ever taken this class. And her class came just in some random email, but my guidance says, take that class. And then when I saw how much she charged, it was like $4,000 for this class. I'm like, oh my God, this better be a good class, because guidance was saying to take that class. So I did. And I had read her book, Hiring the Heavens. And so in that book, she talks about that our guides, our angels are all there waiting to assist us, but we don't ask. We ignore them. We don't utilize what they're there to do. And I remember, so of course, I got to prove everything. So when we were taking the class, I work with my guidance a lot, right? So not too much with angels at that time, but with my guidance, I had been working. So I decided to put them angels to a test.
Okay, how did this work?
Well, it worked out great, because I said, okay, if you guys are really there and you're really there to help me. Oh, well, let me back up. I had to go to this store. It's this huge store. We have it here called Costco. And Costco is like this massive big box store. I cannot stand going there. It's too many people. It's too loud. It's merchandise off the hook. And it's like in your face. People pack out the parking lot, and the stores are always packed. And it's just one humongous commercial venture that is a big turnoff for me. But there are times I have to go, like if I'm shopping for the community, if I'm going to cook big lunch or big dinner, I need to get bulk things. And so I have to go there. So this was a day I had to go there. So I said, well, let's put them little angels to the test. So I said, okay, I got to go do this Costco trip. I want, angels, you to provide me the best parking spot in the entire lot. This is a Friday. This is a day you avoid going to Costco because it's so ridiculously busy. But I threw it out there. Okay, angels. So I drive in, and sure enough, it's even to get into the driveway to get to the parking lot, there's cars backed up. So I'm just following the cue of the line, right? And then all of a sudden I heard, turn left. And I'd have never turned in that spot. I usually go down to the end and then turn in and park in the back. But I heard so clearly, turn left. So now that I've employed them angels, I better do what they say, right? So I turn left. And again, there's a lot of people waiting and looking for parking spots. And I just keep going, and I don't hear anything for a while. And then I get to the place where you can either turn left or right. And all of a sudden I heard, turn left. And so I turned left. And as I turned left, the car that was, as I was turning left, the car that was there backed out, and I pulled in. It was right in front of the store, like in front of the door. And I just sat in my car, and I laughed and I laughed and I laughed, because I had asked for the best spot in the parking lot. And You can't get any better than right by the front door and, watching someone pull out so that I could immediately pull in. It was fun, and I think that's the way we need to work with our angels, just put them to the test.
I didn't ask angels, but when I start learning that you can manifest things, yeah, I was like asking universe, okay, please give me green light home, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I was literally on the green getting home, same as asking nice parking spaces, yeah, and like you said, in completely chock-a-blocked place, I'm getting the best by the shop, yeah. So I'm doing this, but I didn't ask and didn't check on angels. I was like speaking with universe as such.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I call them sometimes the angels, that universe, right? Who's listening? Who's guiding? Who's opening? Who's clearing the way? Who's assisting me? Who's here for me? We're not here alone. And that's the one thing, about arrogance, right? Is that you believe you're doing it yourself. And I move into arrogance quite frequently, because I've had to do things myself. I've had to figure it out myself. But really, if I think about it, I've been guided all along the way. Some of that figuring out stuff, I was guided into directions to go, and things to do. I've been guided every step of the way. Um, so yeah, so now I taught, I let my guidance, just call it my guidance. It's, the angels, it's whatever. But those are the ones, like, when I do meditations, like, I don't plan meditations. I just step into that divine flow of energy and let the meditation come through me for what is needed in the moment. Those things aren't, I'm a vessel for that. And is it me? Yeah, it's me, but it's me tapped into that higher aspect of me, the angelic aspect of me, because we're not separated from that. They're not, they're aspects of who you are. And when we stop playing with the aspect of us as a lowly human, and start waking up and remembering that we are a sacred divine child of God, then we move into a different realm of assistance. Um, so yeah. um,
But Morgan, is that I at the moment is like we're talking about people who call themselves star seeds, yeah, or light workers, or spirit guides, and so on, yeah. Uh, is all humanity actually have this spark, this God spark, and can wake up at any moment? Even those who at the moment is completely fast asleep, have no knowledge about what's going on, going to get all this and using all rest of our mass media is asking them to do, yeah? And are they absolutely the same? And at any point they can wake up and they can fall, no, get this, become like open-minded and wake and so on.
well, let me ask you this: have you ever been asleep?
Yes,
Yes. Did you wake up?
yes.
Yeah. So I think
Or
that,
maybe I'm still asleep. I don't know.
well, maybe you're dreaming. In Course in Miracles, we talk about, the dream, right? We're dreaming this into existence. But in also we talk about that we can within the dream begin to work with the dream and interact with the dream. And that's what I think this world is. It's a dream, and we've dreamed up these characters that are asleep, but they're actually just reflections of our own sleepiness, of our own, they're just reflecting to us back where we are. So if we're seeing sleepy, unawake, dense, well, then there's still that aspect within you that says this can be. So it would be within you then the work, not their work, but your work of, I see sleepiness, I see dense human beings, where within me does that still exist? So that's always my question when I see something like that. I'll give you a story. I think I might have told this story once before on your show when I had a bunch of little kids with me, and we had decided to go to the aquarium that afternoon after nap time. We were going to go to the aquarium in Seattle. But in that morning, one of the kids asked me, where's God? I love it when little kids ask those kinds of questions. Where's God? And I said, well, God's everywhere. God's everything. God is in, as, and through all things, us, everything. It's a part of all that exists. So, they took that information and went off and played and whatever. And that afternoon, we headed out to Seattle to go to the aquarium. And we're driving down this street, and there happened to be some homeless people on that street. It was a warm day, so I had the windows rolled down in the car. And as we got onto the street, you literally could smell the homeless. I call it the smell of the homelessness, right? And immediately what I started to do was roll up all the windows. And in the back seat, I heard this little voice, and they said, look, Morganne, there's God. I go, yes, you're right. There's God. So I was seeing homelessness. That child was seeing God. So shifted really rapidly. Like I could teach that spiritual arrogance all day long, right? But it was a little child that reminded me we were looking into the face of God, not a homeless person, but the face of God. So people who have forgotten who they are just brings it to our attention, what we believe. So then we get the opportunity to know something different, to know another truth. And for that child and me now to recognize that being as God, as the divine, we don't know what it did for that person, but we know what it does for us when we recognize that about someone that we held a belief about that was lower than what the truth was. It really was just about me and not the truth. Does that make sense?
Depends how you look at it. Really.
Precisely. What's the lens you're looking through? And so the lens you're looking through is the consciousness where you are. So if you are in that lower frequency of shame, blame, guilt, apathy, grief, all of that, if you're stuck there, that's the lens you look through. But if you begin to do the work to even just move up to courage, then to see things differently, to know things differently, what that courage does is lets you not be right. You're not right. You're not righteous. You become open and teachable and awake. And that's the value of becoming a student to life and to spirit rather than always just being the teacher. So I think that being the student is the most profound place to be in. But because I am in service to others, like you do, you take what you have been given, what you've embodied, what you now know, and you assist others with that information. That's so profound.
And every time when we have our shows, something new comes, and again, I can share with everybody I teach and speak to.
Yeah, and that
Yeah.
and that's the way. Yeah, and that's, I believe that's the way we learn, and that's the way we grow, is not just taking it but now teaching it, right? And then when you find yourself into that place of what I call spiritual arrogance, where you think you know, it's time to become
You
a
don't.
it's time to become a student again.
I for me, I don't think I have this arrogance. Maybe it could come up sometimes when I speak to somebody who has like fast steps in spirituality. Yeah, then I maybe sometimes have this thought about, okay, I understand a little bit more than you do, yeah, or something like that. But really, as more I'm learning, what I realize is there is much, 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 much more to learn. There is no end of learning.
Nope.
Yeah.
Even what we think we have learned, we learned it at a level. We learned it at the consciousness where we were. Now, when we shift consciousness, we get to know it and learn it at that level. And that's why this week has been so profound for me. Was I thought I had handled that original grief from losing my beloved, but I had done it at the level where I was at, not at the level where I am now. And doing it at the level where I am now, that's where the gratitude came from, of I'm so grateful for this experience. I am so grateful for that experience. And I don't have a justification for the gratitude, which is fabulous, right? I just am grateful. And I realized that because of that experience, and because of all the experiences I've had, I am who I am today. And who I am today will be different tomorrow.
Yeah, because you will tomorrow learn something else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, of course, you change again because every time you putting another piece to puzzle. Yeah, like I today had one client and we done meditation, and I asked her to take me somewhere. She has lots of childhood trauma, yeah, but there is like involved um, sexual abuse and lots other things. And I asked her to take me somewhere where she really felt like low and hurt and scared and so on. And I was absolutely sure. I was like mentally preparing myself to hear something about horrible sexual abuse or something like that. And then she took me somewhere where was her parents first time having huge fight, and father was hitting her mom, and she was in a corner watching this. Yeah. And then when we clear everything and we get out of this meditation, she said she can't believe where she take me because she never ever thought that this memory could affect her today. Yeah,
Yep.
comparing to all other horrible memories she has. Yeah,
Yep.
she never thought that this bit, nobody actually harmed her. She just noticed something, yeah, could affect her so much.
Yep. And in that moment when she's witnessing that trauma drama, I call it trauma drama, she's making decisions. She's making internal decision about what she's witnessing. And those decisions are carried through the lifetime. Like a
Yeah,
decision could be, I'm afraid of him, or um, even like a savior thing, like you want to save your mom, right? But you can't, so now you don't have control, so you believe you don't have so you don't know what those decisions are, but if you go back and you in that meditation you go back and ask, what's the decision you're making right now? You can see how the decisions that they make in that trauma are running the show. And it, like, however old she is, right? So you may have seen and witnessed something when you were 3 years old and it terrified you and you made decisions about that. Well, I say that's like letting your 3-year-old drive your car in a way, because, and you can see it when people act out and when they blame others and when they uh, you can see that they are doing it from a place of some immature decision that was made. Um, so those decisions will run your life. And a lot of times I'll ask someone when they're in the heat of what they're working through during a session, I'll say, how old do you feel? How old are you right now? And that shifts, and it hunkers them down into the original trauma where that came from.
yeah. See, I learned something what to do in next meditation.
Beautiful. Yeah.
So
We learn as we go, right? There's no good book on it, Daiga.
yeah, I find, yes, I've been through so many courses, yeah. Of course, not as many as you, but I've been through many courses. And to be honest, when you facing real client in front of you start learning everything from zero almost.
Yep.
Because there is no answer for every client, and this client is looking at you like you have all answers and you don't.
No, all you're doing is leading them to the answers within themselves, because it's
Yeah.
all there. And that's what we do, is help them by giving them a key. Here, turn this, you can unlock this, right? And that key is those questions, and your ability to stay very present with this person, seeing how they respond, where their eyes go, how their bodies are, right? We watch all that when we're in therapy sessions. How's this person responding? So I mean, I do that anyway. I'm
I
watching.
I I don't know how you, but I find in therapies what I've been doing face to face before, yeah, it's much easier because you really see completely human being in front of you. You see all body language, everything in body, everything in face. You see, but when you're doing like phone session or video session, all you can see is like how much, yeah. So it makes more challenging, I think, to read the person.
It can, yeah. I look for where did the eyes go, and that I can see on a Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
I look for how a person might shift their bodies, right? Because we know that, if people start looking down, they've hunked down into their feeling nature, right? And a lot of times when they go right there, I go, what are you feeling right there? What's going on right there? Stay right there, because the energy's pulling them there, right? But people don't want to feel the pain. They don't want to. So they'll try to run away from it. They will, but if they can get the courage, if they can have the courage to take a look, and a therapist can take them there, help them go there, help them. Like with her, she did not know that event, that trauma event, was affecting her life, but it was, and now she has every opportunity to heal that, to um, offer forgiveness, offer unconditional love, offer forgiveness to herself for, that event probably made her feel very confused, right? So we can forgive ourselves for the confusion. We can forgive the parent that was harming. We can ask for forgiveness for them and offer forgiveness to them. So, and offer forgiveness to ourselves for the decisions we made that held us back. So it's always going to come
Yeah.
come back to loving self and offering forgiveness.
Yes. So, Morgan, we have about 15 minutes. Do you want to make meditation?
Sure, sure. Let's
Yay!
tap into what
Let's
source.
stop it.
Yeah, let's tap into what source wants to do here. So I'm just going to invite everyone to. We'll start our practice of getting present to where we are. So if you are sitting in a chair, make sure your feet are on the floor. Maybe those feet are inside some shoes. Maybe your feet are just on the floor. So we're going to take a breath in. And put your attention on your feet. See how your feet is interacting with the floor. Do you have a good solid stance? Are you well connected? If not, then get connected. Can you feel your big toe? Can you feel your baby toe? Can you feel your heel? And those would be great places to start. That's your tripod, which offers your body temple stability while we're in the world. So just feel into where your feet are. And then just begin to feel into where your body is. Just traveling up your body, getting really present with your legs and your buttocks and your belly. And moving on up into your chest. And into your throat and into your arms, into your head. Begin to feel into your body temple. And what do you feel? Be present. And as you're being present with yourself, notice what thoughts and judgments are coming up about your body. And take a breath. Move back into your heart. Move into your heart. Taking a beautiful breath into your heart. And as you breathe into your heart, check into your body again. What are you noticing about your body temple? Bringing that awareness to the body temple is so important. It helps you come to the present moment now. Take a breath into this present moment now. And let that breath go with a beautiful just let it go. Allowing yourself to just sink more deeply into your body temple. And why do we call it the body temple? And I call it the body temple because it is where our spirit and our soul reside. They've taken up residence into this particular body temple for particular reasons. Incarnation as female or male, tall or short, or thin or fat, whatever the body temple is. This incarnation into it is absolutely perfect. Take a breath in. And if you found you have judgment about your beautiful body temple that houses your soul and your spirit, and if you've had that judgment about it in whatever area, begin to acknowledge that judgment. Oh, I had judgment about my belly. Perhaps offer yourself some forgiveness for that judgment. I'm sorry. Please forgive me for having confusion about this judgment I have about my belly or your back or whatever it is. Bring into your awareness some forgiveness about what it is you're holding. And then offer yourself some love. I love you. I truly love you, body. Thank you for serving me so beautifully. Take a breath in. And as we become more and more present to who we are, begin to notice around you that there are heavenly hosts present for you. Angelics, guides, spiritual masters. They're all around you. They've always been around you, and maybe you've noticed them and maybe you haven't. But ask yourself, if you haven't noticed them, are you willing to notice and experience your guidance? Are you willing? Take a breath in. And perhaps you cannot see your angels or guides or that mastery, that level of ascended masters that come forward. Maybe you cannot see or feel them. That's okay, because they're there anyway. And would you be willing? Would you be willing to entertain that guidance, those angelics might be there? Would you be willing? Take a breath in. Answer that. And maybe you were like me that said, okay, if you're really there, then you can prove them. They are there to show you. They are there to guide you. They are there to assist you. We didn't come here alone. We came with assistance. And so if you do not know your guides or your angels, invite them now to come in. Invite them now to be present for you. Answer them. They speak in the very small voice. They're quiet and peaceful. And sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're warning. Don't go there. Watch out for that. Feel into that. So to be present for the guidance that comes through. And just we're going to take a moment and invite your guidance in, your angelics in. Stay focused on your heart and wait for what drops in. It might be a voice, you might get an image, you might get a feeling, you might even get a fragrance. But just for a moment, invite in your angels, invite in your guidance, invite in the spiritual masters that are there for you. Take a breath in. Be patient. Open your inner hearing. Open your spiritual seeing. Take a breath in. And just notice what you're experiencing. Maybe you heard a voice. Maybe you saw. Maybe you felt. Maybe you experienced on some level guidance from the other side. And if you did, just offer so much gratitude. Thank you for showing up for me. Thank you for always being there for me. Thank you. And if you did not, say thank you. I'm on the right path. I'm here and I'm open and I'm ready to hear and I'm ready to know and I'm ready to see. Take a breath in. Develop your relationship with those higher beings. They are all aspects of the one. You are an aspect of the one. You have energies that are with you like soul family that are here to help you and guide you. Be willing to open your heart and your mind and your hearing to see, to know, to hear. Be willing, if you did not see or hear, to practice again, to invite in again, to suspend the judgment again. Take a breath in. And I just now offer thanksgiving for those who have shown up, for those angels that are present for us. I'm so grateful that everyone has this So grateful for the higher guidance that has shown up. So grateful everyone has this. So grateful for the ascended mastery that is present. For everyone has this. So grateful. And so grateful that I have the courage to not be arrogant in my human wisdom, so that I may open to the angelic wisdom, the higher guidance wisdom, creator wisdom. I'm so grateful that those who are listening are now open to asking, to seeing, to knowing, to feeling, to experiencing guidance, love, light, peace, joy. For those are the attributes of the divine, of the higher states of being. And I'm so grateful to have this opportunity to remember and to assist others in remembering. And so, in love and light this day, I bless us all on the journey of awakening to the heavenly help that is just there waiting for us to say ask, to say help, ask for guidance. I'm so grateful for the asking and for the receiving. And so it is. Amen.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Welcome.
Another beautiful meditation. I'm still there. I sort of more get not visions of them, but I get something like huge unconditional love, this feel of love and huge heart. It was very nice. Thank you.
You're welcome. That's part of your guidance.
Yeah. As usual, you managed to make me emotional. Thank you.
I have a gift.
You. You definitely have a gift. You manage to make me in tears every time we talk. So yeah. Thank you, Morganne. Thank you,
You're
everybody
welcome.
who was watching us. Please like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube video channel. And from our hearts to yours, thank you for watching, and God bless.